Hey guys, welcome back to my channel all about English with Divyata. In this video, I'll be dealing with a Greek play, Oedipus Rex, written by Sophocles, a Greek playwright. Okay, first of all, we'll be doing the basic elements of tragedy, then Aristotle's three unities in the play, summary and analysis in 5 parts, Oedipus as a character and importance of the chorus in the play. Without wasting any time, let's begin. The first thing, basic elements of a play. Number one, peripeteia or reversal. What is it? Peripeteia or reversal exactly means the opposite in the actions being performed. The opposite thing of what is said. Like it is a moment of self-discovery. When we read Oedipus Rex, we'll find that someone came to give Oedipus the good news and free him from his fear with regard to his mother. Okay, that he did not marry his mother. When we read the play, then you'll understand better. But by disclosing Oedipus' identity, that he brought the opposite result. Okay, that Oedipus was the culprit. He married his own mother and killed his own father. At this point, he realizes the reversal, that he wanted to know something else, that who killed his father, or who killed King Laius unknowingly, but it happens just the opposite. Second thing, recognition or anagonosis. What is it? Change from ignorance to knowledge. Okay, what is the effect of this? It affects the fortune of the person involved, from bad to good or from good to bad, basically from bad to good. In Oedipus, we'll find that when Oedipus comes to know that he had only killed his father and married his mother, this truth shattered his world and led to his bad fortune. It was a moment of recognition of his own part. He came to do everything that unknowingly he married his mother and killed his father. Second thing, catharsis. What is catharsis? It is the purging of emotions in oneself. Now, what does purging of emotions mean? Like, what sort of emotions will develop in us when we read the play? When the kings, that is Oedipus, when his fortune will change from good to bad, it will inculcate a sort of feeling of pity and sympathy for him, as to such a nice person who helped everyone, who freed Thebes from the Sphinx, will drop out in such a state. He'll just blind himself and asks to be removed off from the country. Okay, next, hamartia. What is hamartia? Now, hamartia means doing unknowingly, things doing unknowingly, like he unknowingly kills his own father, he unknowingly marries his own mother. All these things are hamartia, things done unknowingly. Okay, the second part, Aristotle's three unities involved in the play. The first unity, unity of time. What does it mean here? Let's see. Unity of time means that the events should be within a certain limit of time, and according to the Greek tragedies, it should be of 24 hours. It should complete within 24 hours. In Oedipus Rex, we won't find unity of time so much, okay, because the modern playwrights didn't involve it. Unity of action. What does unity of action mean over here? Unity of action means that the play should move in a linear type of scale. Okay, it should be in a proper scale, sequentially. It should be unified in a cyclic way, that it should be logical. It should not happen that if I'm saying something today, and now then again I'm going back to say 5 years back. If it happens so, it should be connected so sequentially and unified together so very properly that people who are reading it or who are seeing it should not be confused. Next, unity of place. Unity of place means that the whole play should take place in one single place. The event, the whole of the event should take place at a one single stage. Like if we say, nowadays the films being produced, they just occur in different places. All these things are happening because of technology. Though we complete a movie in 2 hours, 3 hours, but all the things, all the scenes are all the things are take place in different places. They have a different setup for everything. But during all the performances of the play in older times, the most preferable thing of a play was that it should be performed in a single place. There should be a unity of place, all the things taking place at a same place, at a one place. And it also happened so because not to break the continuity. Like if this play is being performed and if it take place today here, then again I'll shift it to some other place the next day, the continuity will break, people will get confused, all of them won't remember everything every day. So it should be at a particular place. Moving on to the summary and analysis of the play. First of all, what we discussed is unity of place, unity of action. These two unities very specifically we'll be able to see in the play. How? In Oedipus Rex, when we read, all the actions are confined very beautifully and united in a very logical and sequential way. Every single action would seem that yes, it happened so, and now next it happens. Then another, unity of place. Though we'll see while reading that flashbacks are connected in this play, we'll come to know something about his past, something about the present and the future, but all these things will take place on one particular place, on a one particular stage. Okay, and that too where? In the kingdom of Thebes. Let's begin with the summary and analysis of the play. First we'll be doing part 1, lines number 1 to 337. The play begins with Oedipus meeting a procession of priests and citizens of his kingdom in Thebes. They request the king to put an end to the deadly plague that is raging in the city. The head priest informs him as to what was happening. All these things, when we'll read it further, we'll understand that this thing is taking place due to the murder of King Laius, the former king of Thebes. Now, when we read it, the first few lines, I am quoting it, I and these children, not as deeming thee a new divinity, but the first of men, first in the common accidents of life, and first in visitations of the god. What does it depict? Here the lines clearly state that the Greeks looked at the king as the first among the men, after the god. Okay, not confronting him as the god, but after the god. He is also the first to suffer the visitation of the gods. Visitation is a catastrophic event, okay, as a punishment from God, seen as a punishment from God for the wrong deeds done. Oedipus is verily addressed as the peerless king, the ship of the state, chief of the men, and is requested to appraise their state. Oedipus tells them that he had already sent Creon, his brother-in-law. Creon is the brother of Jocasta. His okay, to the Delphi oracle. Delphi oracle was a sort of place, uh, a sort of famous place of Apollo. Okay, Apollo god. From there, he used to predict the things as to what will happen next, what happened in the past. In Hindi, we can say it a bhavishyavani. Okay, now what do we see here? We can see that Oedipus is fair and is justified here. How? All these things takes place in his kingdom, in front of the chorus. I'll tell you at the last what is the importance of chorus. He does not want to have a secret meeting with Creon as to what Apollo god will tell him or inform him. He wants it to be publicly heard. And here the public is being represented by the chorus. Okay. Now, when Creon comes in and tells him in the presence of all assembled, as desired by Oedipus, that his predecessor, King Laius, has been murdered long ago. And now the god's command is plain: punish his takers off, whoever, and restore the city from the deadly pestilence. Pestilence means the deadly plague. Okay, the Apollo god wanted to, he would clear off that the plague will be wiped off from the city of Thebes only after when the culprit is punished. Okay, what happens next? Okay, one more thing over here. His biological parents, Oedipus' biological parents were King Laius and Queen Jocasta, and his foster parents were King and Queen of Corinth, that is King Polybus and Queen Merope of Corinth. Now Oedipus tells everyone that he'll punish the murderer, the culprit, whosoever it be, even if it would be his closer one, his loved one. Okay. He tells them that yes, he'll find out the culprit and he'll punish him, whosoever it be, even being his loved one or from his family. Now moving on to lines 338 to 706. Now, on the advice of the chorus, Oedipus had summoned the blind prophet Tiresias. Okay, he was a prophet who knew everything and who could tell everything whatever has happened. He was blind. At first, when we'll read it, when we'll go in detail, we'll come to know that at first Tiresias was not willing to tell Oedipus that who was the murderer. But on forcing, as Oedipus forces Tiresias to speak off, he uses few crucial words for him. Tiresias very angrily and just because of his forcing, he tells him that who has killed. He informs him that he himself was responsible for all these things. But Oedipus cannot believe what Tiresias says and asks us to say again. Now, after all these things, there are many lines which will depict that they both have a sort of fight in between. Not physical fight, but by words. And Oedipus refuses to believe all these things. All these things are taking place in front of the chorus. He suspects Creon's hand in this. Okay, so that he was thinking that Creon wants his possession and wants to be the king of Thebes, so he has planned all these things with the prophet Tiresias, and he orders the blind prophet to just move out from his palace, from his kingdom. Now all these things, just they create a sort of strong feeling to arrest and punish the murderer of King Laius. Okay, and what is the irony over here? That he himself was the murderer. The blind seer correctly says that the murderer will initially be regarded as an alien and later will be proved to be a native Theban. Here this line will depict that yes, first Oedipus, as Oedipus is the culprit over here, Oedipus was first of all, he was the alien to the country. No one knew him. When he had freed Thebes from the Sphinx, at that time they had regarded and they had possessioned him as the king of Thebes. And so now he is a native of that place. And in reality it is the reality that he was the only prince of Thebes, as because his biological parents were King Laius and Queen Jocasta. Now here in reading we'll find a very good irony again. Tiresias is blind, but he can see the truth. He's strong in the sense of truth. He is blind, we all know, but he knows the truth. He can just suspect it. Oedipus has sight, but he cannot see the truth. Okay, it is a sort of irony over here that the blind prophet Tiresias is blind, but he can see the truth. And Oedipus, being sighted, cannot see the truth. The question answer dialogue over here affirms that Oedipus is the murderer. Okay, the chorus wants Oedipus to respect the man Creon, because they knew Creon from a very long time, so they warn him to respect the man whose probity is known by all, whose great virtues are known by everyone. Okay, he becomes arrogant towards them, Creon and Tiresias. Now, the prophet also mentions that Oedipus has no idea about his real birth and his real biological parents, because he has been raised in Corinth from the time he was a newborn baby. He sincerely believes that he could not have killed King Laius, who is his real father. Okay, he does not wants to believe that he has killed him. He is sure that he cannot do such kinds of deeds. But by all the dialogues in between, will come to know, and he, till some extent, he becomes sure that yes, somewhere or the other, he is the culprit. Now, due to all these happenings, Oedipus was very much angry and he was very much confused and frustrated. Okay, now so he turned to his wife Jocasta to know the truth, as he thought that she is the one who will tell him the truth. Jocasta asks him to ignore these prophecies in the light of Delphi oracle. And she also mentions that yes, once the Delphi oracle had professed that Laius' death would be by the hands of their own son, and who would eventually marry his own mother. But she believes that prophecy did not happen, as they had abandoned their baby and were subsequently informed that he had died earlier. Okay, they had given that baby to a shepherd. As we'll read next, we'll understand it. Okay, so all these things Jocasta says to him, to her husband and to her son, that yes, this kind of a thing was professed once, but she asks him to not to believe all these things. And one more thing over here, like Jocasta is also means she's a sort of, she doesn't knows that yes, the king to whom she married the second time, that is Oedipus, was his own son, who was given to a shepherd to be killed, but was not killed, and was brought up by the king and queen of Corinth, that is King Polybus and Queen Merope. Okay. Now lines number 108 to 310. 3010, sorry. Oedipus had heard earlier that about the prophecy when he was in Corinth as the son of king and queen of Corinth. Oedipus has no clue about his adoption by the Corinth king and queen. He thought that they were only his biological parents. Okay, so he decides to run away from Corinth to avoid committing such a heinous crime. He had heard about the prophecy that yes, he would kill his own father and marry his own mother. So he was thinking that the king and queen of Corinth were his real parents. So he runs away from that place to avoid this heinous crime. Okay, but he comes back to Thebes and he kills Laius and marries his own mother, Jocasta. Now he had sent for a messenger from Corinth who had received him from a shepherd. The messenger informs him that the king and queen of Corinth were not his genetic parents but only his foster parents. And the messenger says that a shepherd had rescued the abandoned baby of Laius in Jocasta and given it to him, the messenger, and he had handed the baby over to the king and queen who were childless. At this point, Oedipus recalls his fight at a crossroad when he was running away from Corinth with someone who resembled Laius. At this point, he realizes, yes, with whom he had a fight was King Laius and he had killed him. Okay, moving next. This disclosure about his heinous crime, that he had killed Laius and married his own mother, now he moves on to the Delphi oracle to know the truth, but there also he does not get any clue about what, yes, he was the murderer or someone else. Then Queen Jocasta understands the horror of her marriage to her own son. In these lines from 1008 to 3010, we'll understand that yes, now Queen Jocasta understands, realizes that yes, she has married his own son and she has child from his own son. She is very much frustrated, very much like she felt very much insulted. What does she do next? She hangs herself. She commits a suicide. Okay. About knowing the parentage of Oedipus and marrying him, she thinks this to be a heinous crime and she kills herself. She commits a suicide. Last few lines, line number 1311 to 1684. Okay. When now Oedipus comes into the palace rushing, okay, and he finds that the queen has killed herself. Knowing the truth, devastated, Oedipus takes the pins from her gown and racks out his eyes. He just takes out his eyes as a punishment for his heinous crime. It does not matter to him if the crimes had been committed in total ignorance. In fact, it remains that he was the murderer and therefore responsible for bringing the plague. Here we find that yes, here is a kind of hamartia, where what he wanted to know the truth, but it shattered his own life. Okay, he did not know that knew actually that yes, just because of knowing the truth, he'll shatter his own life, he'll destroy his life. Now, his blindness in some way claims him down as he is no longer looked upon. The misery he has caused. In self-humiliation and utter dejection, Oedipus begs Creon to kill him. The play concludes with the quiet submission to Creon's leadership, and he humbly awaits the oracle that will determine whether he'll stay in Thebes or be cast out forever. Okay, the play ends over here by few lines of the chorus. He also wanted to meet his daughters. He asked Creon to pardon his daughter from any punishment and keep them with him and marry them to some person. He also says that yes, his sons will find a means to live, but not his daughter. So he requests Creon to take care of them, and the play ends by the lines of the chorus. Now let's look at the Oedipus as a character. First of all, he was a noble man of swift action. Okay, he is an excellent ruler who anticipates and tries over his subjects' need. He tried to rid Thebes from the deadly plague, which has already sent Creon to the oracle at Delphi to know the reason of the issue. Oedipus is hugely confident and with good insight. He has saved Thebes from the curse of the Sphinx and became the king virtually. Now, Oedipus' swiftness and confidence continue to the very end. He is the man who unknowingly marries his own mother, widowed Queen Jocasta, and becomes the culprit. And when he realizes that the heinous crime he has committed, he blinds himself due to shame, humiliation, and frustration. He is constantly in motion, trying to keep pace with his fate, but understands that his destiny is not under his control. He is found helpless when his children are taken from him by Creon. At last, we can say that he was a noble man who, on the verge of knowing the truth, shattered his own life. Okay, when we read the play, we'll understand all these qualities in him very beautifully. That yes, he was a man who, on the verge of knowing the truth, shattered his own life, destroyed his own life. Now, the importance of the chorus. As we see in modern plays, chorus is really one of the dramatis personae. Okay, but in a classical tragedy, the chorus is an important and integral part of the play. The basic function of the chorus is to be an objective viewer of the events that unfold before their eyes. It includes maximum of 50 to 60 members. Chorus speaks the voice of the audience, expressing its fears, anxieties, premonitions, and wisdoms. They arrive early on in the play, as we'll see. As you'll read the play, we'll see that the chorus arrives early in the play and remains till the end. Okay. At last, we'll also know that the chorus has the last speech to say that no one can be said to be happy unless he has no sorrow till the end of his life.